The Railway Man is a pretty interesting film. This was released in 2013. It's directed by Jonathan Teplitzky, written by Frank Cottrell, Boyce and Andy Paterson, based on the book by Eric Lomax, with the cast including Colin Firth, Nicole Kidman, Stellan Skarsgård, Jeremy Irvine and various others. And this is based on the true story of Eric Lomax. He was a British Army officer in World War II, and he was tortured in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, and he discovered years and years later that the person who tortured him was still alive, and he decided to track him down to try and confront him, and this is that story. And it's really interesting. It also made me wonder, and if this film exists, do let me know, but I'd love to know what it would be like to watch a film in reverse, where somebody who was tortured by a British officer in a prisoner of war camp tracked down that British officer. I'm not an expert on this particular topic, but as far as I know, certain German soldiers were tortured in certain British prisoner of war camps. I don't believe all of the camps operated like that, but certainly I believe some of them did. And it would be really interesting to see the film in reverse, because it's all well and good watching this, feeling for this prisoner who fought for Britain, but also remembering that also roles were reversed. And certain soldiers, German soldiers in particular, were perhaps facing the same thing by British officers. If that film exists, do let me know. I'd love to see emotionally how it compares. But certainly this one is very moving. I don't know how true it is to the real story, but it's certainly very interesting, and Eric Lomax is a very likeable character, which I think is really important. I think it was really essential that we at least cared about the character and wanted to find out more about his journey and his experience. Colin Firth gave a fantastic performance. The story does work really well. I do think it's very unpredictable. I went into this with no real background knowledge, didn't really know what to expect, and that worked well for me because I had no idea what would happen if he would actually manage to track this person down, if he would torture him in return, when it's his confront him. I didn't know what that meant, and I was really interested to find out. So while often I prefer to have some background knowledge going into a film, for me, on this occasion it worked better with no knowledge, and that's how I would recommend watching it. But I don't think it would be not an interesting experience. It would if you already have that background knowledge. So I recommend it either way. But that being said, if you do have knowledge on the topic, I'd love to know if it feels accurate. Is this what you expected? The narrative is interesting. There are times when it feels quite a light watch, but a lot of it is quite moving and heavy and emotional. It has a lot to offer. It is absolutely thought-provoking. The characters are well written. The performances are great. Visually, it's beautiful. Great lighting, gorgeous locations. For the most part, it's very nice to look at. It's a journey. It's an experience, definitely very thought-provoking. I think it has a lot to offer. I think there are a lot of strong takeaways here. And ultimately, it's one that was worth waiting for. I did mean to get around to this so much sooner, and I never did. I also can't believe it's been 13 years since it was released. So definitely took me longer than it should have done to get round to it. Glad I've finally seen it, and I can now say, if you're curious, I'm happy to recommend The Railway Man.